Guys, welcome back to another amazing tutorial. I am so excited to be showing you how to build a Zone Wars map right now. Some of you may remember me from being on the block back in Season 7 and Season 9, and I'm glad to be back here now making YouTube videos for you guys on how to make cool stuff. So basically what we're going to do is go ahead and create a Zone Wars map from scratch. I'm going to try to throw in as much detail as possible. There's so many components to this that I want to make sure that we do it correctly and that we don't miss any steps. Before we go ahead and get started, I do think it is very important for you to use the code that I have put on the screen here to go and check out the Zone Wars map that I have created. By doing this, it will really help you understand how I built everything. I think you should run through it with a friend or on your own just to get a sense of what we're doing before we go ahead and start building this together. It really is going to help you out. Please go ahead and help me out by smashing that like button. Also, go ahead and subscribe. I'm putting up new videos weekly, and I want you to see all of these tutorials that I'm putting out for you to get better at Fortnite Creative. Alright, and moving on. The first thing we need to do before we do anything else is create a new island. So we're going to go into the game creation tool here and select a new island from the top right there. This is the biggest challenge you're going to face because you have to decide what is the island you're going to use to create your Zone Wars map. This could set up the staging for everything. You may want to do an ice map, you may want to do a lava map, or a beach map, or a forest map, or a space map. There's so many ideas, but you need to first decide which island to use. I went ahead and used the Horseshoe Island, which you can see me loading in here. Alright, now you can see that I have loaded in my Horseshoe Island. As you can see, it's very, very blank right now, so we have a lot of work to do. I'm doing a cabin theme. The entire theme of this Zone Wars map is camp. So I went to Lonely Lodge Galleries there to grab the 2 galleries needed for kind of like a cabin in the woods type of theme. I went ahead and grabbed those 2 right there, and what you kind of want to do, especially when you start battle testing the map, is you want to throw your props down in an area where your testers cannot see your props. I also just like to put it off into a different area because I don't want to see all of my props either when I'm previewing a map. You'll notice that I built out on the side here. I've noticed in these maps it's really hard to lay down prop galleries without doing this. So I suggest doing what I'm doing here, which is building floor to throw the props down so they evenly distribute. Otherwise, if you just throw them onto the island, some of them hide in the island and it can get rather confusing and irritating. So this is a method that I've built right here to just throw down props easily and out of the way from your viewers and your testers as well. Alright, so as you know, we need to create 16 boxes in a Zone Wars map for all 16 players. In this case, we're creating 16 baby cabins. With that being said, I needed to go ahead and grab a floor piece that would be representative of the floors in my cabins. My cabins, like most Zone Wars map, are 2 squares long, so I'm going to go ahead and just start laying that out here. So as you can see, I'm placing basically 2 floor panels fairly close to one another. You don't want them to be too close because remember, people are going to be coming out of these boxes and they're going to be fighting right away. You'll also notice since there's uneven ground, I'm having trouble placing the floor. That is because in these maps, the uneven ground makes it a little difficult sometimes to do that. So what I actually need to do is grab foundation, if you will. I want you to watch this because it's very important. I know these are the little details. Feel free to skip ahead. I put the chapters down below in the summary, but the reason I'm showing you this part of the video is it's important for you to see how you can create a flat surface on uneven ground. Alright, and once you have finished all 16 of these, we are going to go ahead and take a look just to do a count. This is what I do at the very end, and just check my work before I continue on. At this point, guys, what I want you to do is just design your huts, whatever they are. You can create little cabins, you can create little tiki huts, little caves, you can create little snow domes, whatever you guys want. Just look through the props gallery and choose what it is you want it to be. Once that's all set, we'll go ahead and start back here and go on to the next step. All right, let's go ahead and add on those finishing touches and then move on. All right, so next up, we're going to go ahead and grab some player spawns. Go ahead and grab 16 player spawns. We're going to go ahead and place them in each of these little huts that we've designed. You want to put them farthest away from the door. I noticed if I put them at a certain angle, like you noticed me putting in the video here, that is the angle they need to be placed in order for the person to be facing forward. We're going to go ahead and look at the player spawn settings. Pretty simple here. We're actually not going to do much of anything. Team Any uses island start no, visible during games no. You want to go ahead and do that for all of the 16 boxes. You can do it as you're placing the 16 player spawns down, or go back and just do it one by one. Let's move on to the next thing. You guys will notice that we have the 16 boxes here. You do not have to do this, but I am going to go ahead and create a pre-game lobby. And what that means is kind of a staging area where people will load in before the game starts. That is exactly what I'm doing over here. All right, and once you're all done building your pre-game lobby, we're going to go ahead and put in the player spawns here as well. Once you've placed just a couple player spawns, you don't actually need a lot here. I'll put 6 in just so people can load in, but just go ahead and customize here. Now you'll notice uses island start is on. So you really don't have to change any of the settings, because when you're in a pre-lobby, you also cannot make it invisible anyway, so you can just leave everything default. Now, anytime someone loads into your world, that will be where they start, and that's where they will see the world. You'll get a nice view of the entire island from there. All right, let's go ahead and test what we've done so far. You'll notice here we're loading into a box, ready to go. And when we end the game, we should end up back at the pre-game lobby that we just built. And perfect. All right, and next up, we need to go ahead and place down how weapons are going to come out of these cabins. So what I'm doing is I'm building yet another area on the map that cannot be seen by people playing the game. This area will be permanent, so you need to make sure that it's out of the way of people's view. That way we can go ahead and set up essentials like the weapon system and so forth. All right, now that we've gone ahead and set up that foundation, we need to go ahead and grab one of the roof pieces off of our building. We're going to go ahead and place that over here in this back area. And then we're going to build out a little bit here and create kind of an extension for the roof, so it's hanging out and not in the rock there like that. And the reason for this is so we can build the first weapon drop area, and then we can duplicate that and put it into all 16 cabins. So we're going to go ahead and do this one by one. This is probably one of the most complicated parts of the tutorial, so make sure you pause when you need to. So now go over to the devices menu and pick up an item spawner. Once you've gone ahead and grabbed your item spawner, we're going to go ahead and throw it down. All right, and let's go over the settings. We're going to go one by one, just match everything I'm doing. Random spawns random, yes, because we want the weapons to be random every time they drop. Visible during games, no. Times before spawn instant, because we want those weapons to drop instantly. We don't want it to respawn for a long time, so we're going to set that to 5 minutes just so it doesn't respawn within the game. Bonus ammo for weapons, turn that to off. Run over pickup, turn on, that way when it drops on you, it instantly goes into your inventory. Enable a game start, make sure that's yes. All right. Otherwise, all these settings other than that are left the same. Let's go ahead and grab a copy of the item spawner. Now we're going to go ahead and place this down. We're going to place this down 5 times. So let's go ahead and drop that 5 times next to each other. So basically for each inventory slot that you have, we're going to be putting ARs in the first slot. So starting with the first slot, we're going to go ahead and choose ARs. Go ahead and choose the ARs that you want in your Zone Wars map. These are just a couple of the choices that I have made. Alright, I dropped about 8 ARs into the first pool there. Now we're going to go ahead and drop in shotguns. Once again, go ahead and choose the shotguns that you want. I'm not going to show you every shotgun I drop in here just so the video doesn't go too long, but I am choosing a bunch of different shotguns to put into this inventory slot. Next up, this is your SMG slot. So now we're going to go ahead and choose a bunch of different SMGs that we want. One thing that I have noticed is that there is a old submachine SMG and a compact SMG. Try to get the compact SMG. That's the one currently that was in the game. The other one is very old, just if you're trying to figure out the difference between the two. All right, moving on to our 4th slot, we're going to go ahead and choose snipers or any kind of explosive like a rocket launcher. That's where you would put this. I went ahead and put about 8 snipers and 1 rocket launcher, just so every now and again you get the rocket launcher, but I made sure the rocket launcher was blue just because I don't want anyone to feel too overpowered. Now moving over to our 5th and final slot, we're going to choose meds. So in this case, I leave the bandage alone, but I'm going to add a med kit. I'm going to go ahead and add minis. I'm going to go ahead and add a half pot. You can add a slurp juice if you want, or any of the other consumables. It's really up to you, but these are where your heals will go. Alright, and that is it. You will notice that you do not see the guns floating. You should see the guns floating, but because of a glitch that is currently in Fortnite Creative, it is not visually showing the guns floating. This may get fixed in a later update, but at the time of the recording of this Zone Wars map, this was not fixed. I do assure you all the guns and meds are floating. We're just going to have to trust the system and go ahead and get this next part started. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is rotate each of these devices one by one. We need them to be upside down, because when they're upside down, they're going to go ahead and fall on top of us. We'll also go ahead and shrink this down, that way it's just out of the way. And what we're going to do is place it at the very top center of this roof. And what we're going to do is a cascade down. So now we're going to go backwards. We started with the meds at the top. And because they're at the top, think of it like this. That means it's going to be the last thing to hit us, so it's going to go into slot number 5. Does that make sense? So the med kits will be the last thing because they're at the top. So we're doing this all backwards. Next will be the sniper and explosives. We'll go ahead and put that the next level down, and so forth. We'll go ahead and do the third one as well. We'll flip it over, shrink it down, and we'll do that all the way until we get to the AR, and we'll have all 5 of them there, with the AR being at the bottom, meaning that the AR is going to go ahead and drop and hit us first, which will then go into the first slot. Alright, next up what we're going to need to do is remove the pieces of the house where we're going to place the new roof with the loaded weapons. We want to make sure we're removing the roof over where the player spawns are in the back, as you saw in the visual there. Review your work and make sure you get all 12 of them before continuing. It's important to make sure you're doing it over the player spawn. Alright, so now what we're going to go ahead and do is make a copy of the roof and the weapons that we created over here, and we're going to put that on all 16 of the cabins. In order to make that copy, you want to go ahead and hit the right D-pad on your Xbox or PS4 controller to select all. On a keyboard and mouse, it is a different command, but it will tell you what that command is off to the left side there, so just make sure you're reading that if you're having trouble with selecting all. Otherwise, just do a Google search for Fortnite Creative Select All, and it should show you how to do it. Once again, when you're all done, just go ahead and check your work, make sure everything is there, and let's go ahead and do a test. Let's start the game right now and just see how far we've come along. You'll go ahead and see here that the weapons have dropped. There is yet another Fortnite glitch right now where the last 2 weapons do not fall. This is happening on all of my maps at the moment. I'm hoping Fortnite will fix this in a future update. Do not think something is wrong with your map. It is a problem with Fortnite at the moment, not with your map. Alright, next up we're going to go ahead and grab Team Settings and Inventory from the Devices panel, and we're going to go ahead and drop that down here. You actually do not need to customize anything in here, so you can leave everything default. Alright, and now what we're going to do is drop in the essentials like wood, stone, metal, light ammo. We're going to go ahead and drop medium bullets. We're going to go ahead and drop a few rockets. We're going to drop some shotgun shells and some heavy bullets. And let's go ahead and just test that out. You'll see there on the right. And perfect, we're all set. Everything's there. Alright, now for the exciting part, we're going to create an advanced storm. Grab an advanced storm controller. We're then going to go ahead and grab an advanced storm beacon. We're going to drop the controller down first, and then throw down the beacon right afterwards. And then we're going to go ahead and work on the settings here. Go ahead and match all the settings that I have here for the advanced storm controller. You'll see here that I set to custom. We have a 200 meter radius to begin. Guys, this is the most important thing I'm going to teach you as I show you these settings. This is going to be very different on your map. The only thing you need to make sure of is that each of these advanced storm beacons, you change the phase. So this is the first phase, so you leave it at 1. When we move on to the next, you'll push it to 2. But these settings are going to change on your map, and they're going to be very different for your map. This is where you guys are going to need to get very creative and test your map over and over again to get a flow for the storm circle with your friends. I had to do this over and over until I got the right feel. I even know where to place things because I already made this map before. I noticed that this weird random spot right here was the perfect spot for my storm circle for the next phase. Granted, remember, you're not going to see these during the game, guys. This is only while you're editing. But as you add the advanced storm beacons, each one by one, make sure you're changing it from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3 and so on. That's how it knows when to move to the next storm size. Resize time is the amount of time the storm is going to resize between each, and then the radius of the storm is how big the storm will be when it gets there, that end radius. As you notice, I'm shrinking that end radius as the storm continues on, because the idea is we want to get people into a closer, more confined space so they kill each other faster near the end of your map. Now for this end circle right here, you're noticing that I'm placing a beacon above another beacon, and the reason for that is, so we ended up on this beacon, which was phase 3, we're making it phase 4 now, and the end radius now is 0, because this is where I want the game to end. So I'm going to show you an example of this right now. You'll see that this was the final circle, and what it's going to do now is shrink into nothing, which will end the Zone Wars map. Once again, this is all going to come down to pacing and timing, so you're going to need to figure this out with your friends or on your own. Alright, and on to the final part of the map here. Go ahead and mimic all of the settings that I have listed here, going all the way down for the 3 tabs, and that way you will have a Zone Wars map that works properly. Feel free to modify any of these settings as you go along, and change them accordingly to how you want your Zone Wars map to play out. Alright, you guys will notice that I set time of day, light brightness, color, fog thickness. These are presets that I created to create a look and feel for my map. Feel free to just change those to whatever you'd like for your map. One thing you guys will notice here is it says gold granted on elimination. That's something I added for my Zone Wars map. You definitely do not need to add that into your Zone Wars map. You'll notice the scoreboard win condition coming up is eliminations. My Zone Wars map determines the winner based off eliminations. You can change this to other factors like amount of rounds won, etc. Go ahead and play around with the scoreboard settings until you get a system that works for you. Alright, and finally, let's go ahead and name our island. We're going to go ahead and name this whatever we want it to be. In this case, mine is called Camp Overlook Zone Wars. Come up with a creative name and come up with something that will get your audience's attention. That way, when your friends come in, they will see your map and want to play it. So guys, that is it. We went ahead and made a Zone Wars map. That is how you create a basic Zone Wars map. If you have any questions for me or want to learn more about creating Zone Wars maps, please go ahead and drop in the comments what you would like me to make a video on or any questions you have, and I'll go ahead and answer them for you. Guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video and got a lot out of it. I want to keep making videos like this one so you guys can go ahead and keep creating amazing maps. And once again, thank you so much for the likes on these videos and for subscribing to my channel. I cannot thank you enough for all the love and support.